Hey, Stoney here with another game of Mechabellum. The War Factories are back, and there's no better showcase of his return than the original inventor of the War Factory meta, Mr. N. Sacco. Let's jump in. At the bottom here, we have N. Sacco playing as a Giant Specialist, and he's up against Molani playing as a Fortified Specialist. Right off the bat here, we see Sacco, a very aggressive player, already putting his units for a highly aggressive push into Milani's board with the sledgehammers and crawlers. Steel Ball Arclight is also one of my favorite compositions these days. I've had great success potentially transitioning from Arclight's Steel Balls into Wraith Steel Balls, and then eventually using Wraith as the final carry units. Very excited to see how Sacco will use these type of units. Notice that he is leaving a 7 square window all the way on the right hand side, and I suspect that's where the War Factory is going to be. The current meta of the War Factory is a little different than what it used to be before. It used to be a lot of vertical Mustangs and vertical crawlers just kind of littered across the board, and eventually you drop a War Factory somewhere here. But nowadays, there seems to be this new play Apucci has been spearheading into that particular style of having surprise War Factories all the way in the corner with the mobile beacon towards the opponent's tower. And the way that Apucci plays it is to have War Factory in one turn to the tower, and then sell it, put it on the opposite side to the tower the next turn, and then keeping that War Factory, adding maybe another one in the subsequent turn. So I don't know if this is what Sacco's game plan is, but just looking at the positioning of his units, I think that might be at least a possibility. All right, round 1 goes to Sacco. We're looking at the first unit drop. Mustangs is a good unit. Mustang works really well with Steel Balls. Phoenix could be another good unit, since right now there is no anti-air from Molani, and so it's going to be Phoenix from Molani, and it's also going to be Phoenix from Sacco. Alright, so for now, Sacco is going to use the Arclight as his primary chaff clear. He's going to put a Arclight on the shallow flank here, and what it does is it's going to draw this crawler directly to that unit, while the rest of the units are still going to move down. And that's going to give this Arclight a huge advantage of just removing a single chaff, because if this crawler comes into the front, it might actually mess up some of the attack patterns coming in from Sacco. On the other side, it looks like there's not going to be any additional aggression. Oh no, the Phoenix actually was drawn to this Arclight, which means he's not going to live long enough to destroy. Oh, I didn't even finish the sentence, and then the Phoenix turned at the very last second. Imagine if this Phoenix just scoop 1 meter forward, and it would target this Arclight, and with the Arclight dead, he would still have the entire squad of crawlers able to provide distraction. However, though, it looks like it's going to be a round to Molani. All right, we're looking at round 3 reinforcement cards. Laser Sight is an excellent card. Mobile Beacon is actually pretty good too, and if you are planning on Mobile Beacon 2 War Factories, I wouldn't mind picking this one up nice and early. And it's going to be Laser Sight, and that is going to go on the level 2 Phoenixes. Now looking at Molani's board, he currently runs 5 squads of sledgehammers. Okay, so he did sell one of the squads, and I wonder what he's going to replace that with. Nope. It's actually just going to redeploy. He doesn't have to redeploy cards, so what he's doing is selling one squad and adding it back onto the other side. And the reason for that is because he noticed the lack of defenses on the side, so he wants to make sure that he's able to capture that tower. Now, Sacco did upgrade that tower to level 2, so he's going to take these tanks and these crawlers forever to get to this tower. So I was going to say, we're looking at Morlani's board with 5 squads of sledgehammers. This is an open invitation to a war factory. Whenever you see a unit, your opponent overcommitting into sledgehammers, you should start thinking about war factory at later rounds. So right now, 2 type of units deal, well, 3 really, deals really well with sledgehammers. We have scorpions, fortresses, and war factories. And out of all of those, I think war factory is probably the most efficient type of units to deal with sledgehammers. I think they're better than 2 fortresses or 3 scorpions. Especially you're able to mobile beacon them inside, because a single war factory can pretty much handle all the sledgehammers plus more with its 4 very powerful cannons. All right. Oh, both skip on this round. So round 4. Let me just jump back a little bit. I want to see what the cards are. So round 4, we are looking at Acid, Lightning, Vulcan, Nuke. Nuke is premature. Vulcan, you really don't have anything to deal with that. Lightning is very expensive, though it can do some work for Sacco. But right now, because everything is moving in, so if he does choose Lightning, then he is going to suffer a few hits from that as well. So it makes sense that both players skip. Alright, Sacco now has level 2 steel balls. I wonder if he's going to level them, because level 2 steel balls take forever to kill by these sledgehammers. Ooh, interesting. We have a very shallow flank of sledgehammers now with mech rage. And what that means is now they're a lot more efficient at dealing with chaff. And Sacco needs to figure out a way to deal with this long line of fans. One way to deal with that is just to have a squad of vertical stormcrawlers, and they will shell at these fans forever. Yeah, so definitely looking at this board, I wouldn't be surprised if Sacco is just going to put a war factory at this here. I wonder if this crawler is actually too far forward. I think if Sacco wants to put a war factory here, he will have to sell these crawlers. Alright, so we do have level steel balls. They are going to walk in. However, they're going to get targeted right away with these level 3 phoenixes. And we're looking at the unit convergence from Morlani, and I think he might actually have this round. It really comes down to just how quickly these phoenixes are getting rid of these steel balls. But hey, that looks like an overwhelming amount of force from Morlani. If I'm Sacco, I really have to think about it, right? Because this round is going to be Mech Rage, but next round is going to be Mech Rage with multiple level 2 sledgehammers. And that is almost doubling the firepower from Morlani's board. Level 1 sledgehammers, they're okay, but once you get tanks up to level 2, or God forbid, level 3, and if you take range on them, they become unstoppable. Even ranged scorpions, we're going to have a harder time because yes, you can still 1 or 2 shot these tanks, but they can simply provide enough chaff clear, right? So it's not about 1 or 2 shotting these tanks, it's about surviving long enough for you to actually kill the tanks. So if the tanks can lock on onto your scorpions sooner, then you can clear out this chaff. Level 2 or level 3 tanks can actually dispatch your scorpion quite quickly. But never mind the scorpions, the war factory is on the board, and it does look like this is a perfect 7x7. So I was mistaken. I thought these crawlers were just 1 square too far forward, but Sacco's calculated this. He thought, yep, this is where I'm going to put the war factory, and here we go. And this is a beautiful mobile beacon into this pocket, right? When you're mobile and beacon war factories, you don't really want to get them into units, but instead you want to get in between the units. Now you may ask, oh, well, is that just to make my war factory too exposed? Well, yes, but also the war factory has almost 200,000 HP. The closer they can be in the center of everything, the more time they'll use is 4 cannons to just destroy every single thing. So as you can see right now, this war factory is using all 4 cannons, and of course it was under debuff, but once the debuff wears off, it's taking out every single tank on this side. Doesn't matter if you're level 2, is Yeah, is a beast of a unit. Now the real question is, how are we going to deal with these phoenixes? Now some of these are level 3 and they do a considerable amount of damage. Ooh, another tower debuff, and Morlani is going to take care of these 2 level 2 phoenixes, which means the war factory is no more. So another round going to Morlani, and that in this round he does have all 3 squads of phoenixes left over. Ooh, cutting a little tight here, Mr. Sacco. Alright, looking at unit cards, Iron Blast is a great card. Super heavy armor allows the balls to survive a lot longer. So it's going to be a skip from Morlani. I wonder if Sacco is going to take the Iron Blast, or if he just want to save the money and continue to build out his war factory. And the answer is going to be the latter. He's going to get more war factories. Right now, there's not going to be a melting point answer coming from this side. However, there is going to be an acid trawler right on the line for this war factory to walk into. Now, you may wonder, why don't I want to have acid crawlers all the way on the line? Well, great question. I'm glad you asked. So the thing that acid works is that it doesn't matter how much of the ground is covered. As long as one of your unit is touching even a drop of acid, it's going to suffer the full debuff of the acid. So what Morlani is really trying to do, and I'm actually hoping to put his crawler even further back, but in that case, these crawlers is going to run into Sacco's crawlers, which is not going to work very well. If he has the crawler right here, as you can see, the arc light actually popped the first crawler, leaving acid further back in, and what it does is allows the war factory to stay on the acid for even longer. And remember, acid crawlers acid are permanent for the round, and it's working really well. I mean, look how quickly that war factory it was brought down. Ooh, but we do have a swarm of crawlers coming in from the other side. And man, Morlani is just so on top of his game. Already acid crawlers on the other corner, noticing the pattern in Sacco's formation. He said, yep, he's going to put another crawler there. But unfortunately, I don't think he has enough to hold back the rest of his army. Unit drop, but none of them is really good for Morlani. I'm thinking maybe Fire Badger. Yep, there's the Fire Badger. And for Sacco, Fire Badger works as well, because right now both sides sorely needs chaff clear. And I'm 100% in agreement of this type of strategy of having level 2 Fire Badgers all the way in the back. One is that level 2 Fire Badgers are extremely tanky. They have 12, almost 13,000 HP per unit, and there's 3 of them. So that's going to hold up these Phoenixes for quite some time. And 2, later on, they can always put crawlers, or this round, they can put crawlers. And that is going to force Morlani to add additional chaff clear, maybe in some sledgehammers. But he doesn't want to add any units on the back, because what he really wants to do is to have units at the front dealing with the war factory. So Sacco is introducing one problem that takes the solution away from another problem. Very high level play. He also put down Photon, and what it allows him to do is to stay on acid and not being debuffed for the first 22 seconds or 25 seconds. All right, so we have Napalm coming in from the Fire Badgers on Morlani's side, and these are, yeah, level 2. I think Napalm recently got nerfed. Let me see here. Nope, Napalm did not get nerfed. They still burn 20 seconds, and that's a eternity in a game like this, especially when you're playing aggro. So there will always be a pool of fire in front here, in front of the units here, which means all the crawlers are just going to walk in and they are all going to perish. But it doesn't matter if the crawlers are going to perish, because nobody's really touching these war factories. And with crawlers still on the ground, these phoenixes are not able to target these war factories. So this is actually turning really bad for Morlani, because like I mentioned earlier, these phoenixes were so focused on one problem, which is the fire badgers on the corner, he is no longer capable of fixing the other problem. So right now, if I'm in Malani's shoes, I need to figure out a more definitive chat problem. I'm thinking Wraith probably would have been a better choice last game because the ground suppression from Sacco's board is just overwhelming. So having Wraith instead of Fire Badgers as your chaff clear would have been a better option. Underground Threat is really good. EM is useless, especially if you're planning on using that on a War Factory because of Photon. But it's probably going to be Underground Threat for both players. So it's going to get Underground from Sacco with Replicate, and what it allows him to do is to overwhelm the single squad of defenders right here and produce even more crawlers. And the more defenders he's able to draw away from the front lines, the more likely these War Factories are going to make it to the tower. Alright, it looks like it's going to be a skip. No, it's Underground here. I just missed it at the corner. And I also didn't talk about this huge flank that's been building up here. I don't think the flank is going to do much because of all these additional units that's coming in behind. But it is going to draw at least some of these crawlers away from the defense of this War Factory. I'm a little concerned for Malani for not taking Replicate. And that is because once Sacco's crawlers start to replicate, you're going to have a really bad time. Triple squad of Fire Badgers. I think that might have been a panic move because right now this War Factory one-shots Fire Badger. Doesn't matter if you're level 2, it just one-shots them. And it is being mobile beacon, which means 4 of its guns are going to be used on all of your units here. So I don't think the Fire Badgers is a good choice. I think the thought process is that if I can cover this entire area with fire, I'm going to prevent all these, namely these 2 late arriving crawlers, from getting to my units. I think it's a sound strategy. So, yeah, but there's still a pocket, which is the same pocket that they kind of used last round, right? And that is kind of drawing firepower from the Phoenixes. But the real MVP of this game are the Replicate crawlers able to take both tower down, and that is going to allow all the factories reign free in this final blow. But they are on acid though, but it doesn't matter. We have too many crawlers on the ground, and it's going to be a win for Sacco. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this game, and if you want to see more crazy strategies, here's another game for you. And I'll see you on the next one.
Prepare your tactics. Mechabellum's calling. Deploy your fortress. The battlefield's alive with swarms.